Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to another news edition of the Garden Report. Danilo Gallinari confirms on Twitter that he suffered a left meniscus tear playing for Italy against Georgia in World Cup qualifiers in Europe. Italy had been gearing up to play in next week's EuroBasket, which would have featured, I believe, 5 games over next weekend into the following week. Italy putting together a team of Nico Melli and number of different professionals out there led by Gallinari who are hoping to compete in that EuroBasket competition, which is going to be really good. Would have been a great first impression for Gallinari on Celtics fans. Instead, he'll miss the tournament, he says on Instagram, though the injury, he said, less severe than originally feared. And of course, we went through a meniscus tear in March when Robert Williams tore his, ultimately missed roughly 3 weeks with a removal surgery rather than a repair, which is a much more long-term, arduous process, one that can be extended as long as a year, as we've seen with a guy like Jaren Jackson. So the location of the tear, the severity of the tear, these are going to be important considerations, though Gallinari's hopefulness that he'll be back sooner rather than later lends optimism that he'll be going more toward a rehab or a removal route, which can be roughly 4 to 6-ish weeks, maybe on the upwards of 8 weeks if they take a more cautious approach, which I'd imagine they would, given that they have 51 days here until opening day and can be cautious. Gallinari, 34 years old, on the later end of his career. I believe this will be his 14th season, so he has miles on him. He's a guy, unlike Robert Williams, younger, more athletic, higher stakes going into a postseason run where the Celtics had championship aspirations. There is no doubt that he pushed hard to come back as soon as possible. I even reported back then that that was one of the biggest reasons he went the route he did with his recovery. But whatever way you're looking at it, an ACL tear would have been devastating, possibly even career-threatening. He had already suffered one in that left knee earlier in his career. Gallinari on a 2-year, $13 million deal, second-year player option. Wouldn't have been devastating to the Celtics' chances. They still could have fielded a competitive contender without Gallinari this year, but it would have seriously hampered the team's flexibility, ability to play with depth, would have sent them scrambling for backup options at this point in the offseason. Gallinari's going to miss 4 to 8 weeks here, let's say. I don't think you have to scramble for a replacement. Now, it is going to hurt Boston's depth. They had been leaning on Gallinari to help fill the minutes at the 5 alongside Robert Williams and Al Horford with different combinations there. Ease back on one of their minutes. Allow one of those guys to get a rest night in tandem with Grant Williams. Now, Grant's presence certainly is going to be the key to getting through this absence here. Not only for floor spacing, but for minutes at the 4, defensively, all the different things we saw Grant do last year. His presence doesn't make this a crushing blow for the Celtics for however long Gallinari is going to be out here, though you do hope that he's going to be able to return to form in the aftermath of this injury. Depending on which route the Celtics go here, this can have a number of different outcomes. Guys can come back more tentative, not have the same explosion, though that certainly isn't Gallinari's game. Shooting is going to be what helps the Celtics get over the top in terms of Gallinari's role on this team. So can he get back to being that 38% three-point shooter, a guy that can catch and shoot at a rate above 40%? Can he continue to post up at a high rate? These are all different things I wrote for Boston Sports Journal, unfortunately, just about an hour or two before that game where he got injured. Scary-looking injury, running in transition, coming up hobbled, immediately swarmed by trainers. They're spraying that stuff on his knee, whatever it was, maybe like a numbing agent or something like that. Serious fears. I think some misinformation on social media as well, just in terms of what the injury actually was. Different, weird-looking pictures. It was a scary sight for Celtics fans, especially given the major injuries that had significant factors in their postseason runs, Williams most recently. Though you see with Williams, a return doesn't necessarily mean you're getting that player back. So I'd imagine that the Celtics are going to lean on the side of caution here, try to get him back as close to 100% as possible before he's back on the court, and roll forward with a roster that right now has Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, a four-man backcourt, different combinations still possible there, as well as a three-man front court with Grant, Al, Rob that can sustain in his absence. Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, two guys, of course, on the roster who are going to be able to help sustain this loss in the short term. And if any long-term replacements are needed, let's say they go the repair route and Gallinari's season, or at least regular season, is at threat here, then you go out and probably use one of those 5.9 million, 6.9 million TPEs. So at this point, where the Celtics are in the luxury tax, that could cost you upwards of $20 million in real money to go out and get a guy making $5 million like Justice Winslow, whose name's been thrown around, or even these minimum guys like Carmelo Anthony. That could cost you, over $10 million in tax just to make that minimum signing. There's no relief for Gallinari's absence when it comes to the cap, when it comes to the luxury tax. So we'll see what surgery the Gallinari camp ends up opting for here. You would think at this stage in his career, the shortest term recovery possible is one they'll opt for, as he's going all in on a championship, as he said at his season opening press conference when he signed with the Celtics. We'll have more here on the Garden Report, CLNS Media, Celtics All Access. Of course, stay tuned to clnsmedia.com. Support our sponsors. Athletic Greens, been with us for a minute now. We love them. I've been using it for a month and a half here. Powder that you put in your drink every morning. They got cool gear like a bottle, a container to hold it in, great green theme. AG1, they got 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, antigens, all the different things you need for your health. You can get them in different places. You can pay for each individual ingredient, or you can get them all in Athletic Greens, which has a nice tropical flavor. It doesn't taste as nasty as some of these other green drinks out there. Rave reviews. People love this product. It's amazing if you're going in the fall here, get your immune system up, get your energy going, and we've been feeling it here, still working throughout the off season, and it could be a real impact on your life. So just give it a try. athleticgreens.com/garden. athleticgreens.com/garden. They're going to give you 5 free travel packs, a year's supply of vitamin D, and John Zanis is throwing in a phenomenal Garden Report t-shirt. If you DM him your receipt, go over there, support us, give it a try. That's all we can ask you here. See if it's for you. And we greatly appreciate it here at CLNS Media. We'll have more reaction throughout the week. Live edition of the show coming up as we get more news on this Gallinari injury. Again, stay here, CLNS Media. I'm Bobby Manning. Have a good week.